You know, maybe they should just call this episode Korra Continues to Be a Jerk to Everyone. There are only three things you need to know about this episode. One, we learn about Korra's father's past and why him and his brother don't get along that well, or just the beginning of that story. I'm sure we'll learn more about their family history later on as well. Two, Korra has to go to the Everstorm in the South Pole, where the spiritual center of the South is, and she has to open the spirit portal by punching it, we assume, because she punches everything. Three, we learned that Tenzin's oldest daughter has some sort of special spiritual connection or something going on there. They travel to the Southern Air Temple. They see the statue room with all of the past avatars, and something's creeping up on Tenzin's oldest daughter. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's actually probably the most interesting aspect of this episode, is that there's something going on with her, and we don't know what it is yet. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. So those three things are basically everything that happens in the episode. The backstory, the Everstorm tidbit about opening the spirit portal, and Tenzin's daughter, which is actually probably the briefest and most interesting aspect of the series so far. So basically, Korra's going to start her training with Unalaq, and they're going to the South Pole to open a spirit portal, which will let all of the southern lights out because, you know, science isn't a thing in the Avatar universe. Except now her father wants to come too to protect her, and Zuko... I can't believe I just called him Zuko. Haha, he's definitely not Zuko. Mako is going to come too to protect her, and so is Bolin, and so are Unalaq's daughter and son. So they're doing this expedition thing, and we learn Korra's dad's background, that he was banished for destroying a spiritual forest, and even though he was doing the right thing, it was kind of a weird thing. I don't know. I'm not sure how I think about that. But it's a pretty interesting story, and we get a little bit more of the culture of the North fleshed out. There's these people called barbarians. We don't know who they are. They just said, we're attacked by barbarians. Who's that? I don't know. Maybe that's a story that we'll figure out later. Maybe that's just something that happened in the 70 years before the series started, but after the 100-Year War. I don't know. Maybe that's something. But Korra is angry at her father for not telling her all this. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a weird thing to be angry about, but, you know, she's self-righteously pissed off at her dad again and is a jerk to him again. It's a recurring theme with this episode and last episode where she's just an asshole to everyone around her, and I can't understand why. And eventually they're traveling through the snow and they come across dark spirits that are attacking them and destroying their food, and Unalaq says it's because Korra's dad is there and that they're angry at him. When they get attacked by the dark spirits, they lose all their things and they're all scattered about, and there's another really, really funny scene with Bolin and his slave driver, his girlfriend. Yeah, there's a really funny scene with him and he blows up and she deflates him, so to speak. Is that a sexual metaphor? Maybe. So because of this incident, Korra's dad wants everyone to turn back because it's dangerous. They're just coming through the storm, the Everstorm that is filled with dark spirits, and he doesn't want them to get hurt. So he says, we need to go back. We have no supplies. This is a suicide mission. And Unalaq says, no, we're so close. We have to open it before the winter solstice. This is because the spirit world apparently is close to the physical world on the winter solstice. And that is when Korra has to open this spirit portal thingy. And then Korra looks at her dad and says, no, you have to go. And, you know, in her typical dickish fashion so far this season, and he goes off by himself because that was smart. Why are they sending him off by himself if he's obviously the target of these dark spirits and he can't defeat them? So basically they're sending him off to go get killed by dark spirits. Or maybe they just won't attack him now he's by himself. Doesn't seem like a very good idea. So the team, sans Korra's dad now, head to the center of the Everstorm, and it's this forest, much like the spirit forest that Korra's dad destroyed a long time ago. And Unalaq says that Korra has to go in there by herself, get to the center, open the portal, and basically do all of that avatar things by herself, because he believes in her, just like she should believe in herself. Yeah, because nobody else ever believed in her before. It's only been him this entire time. So they send Korra into the forest by herself, and she is walking through and she gets attacked by these snake-looking things these snake spirits. She's running away, and she closes off ice to stop them because spirits can't move through ice, obviously. And she comes to this giant, glowing, yellow disc thing, and she says, I found the light in the dark. Except when Locke said you should find the light and darken yourself, not literally. And so her first reaction about seeing this magical, spiritual, portal-y thing is to punch it. I called it! Haha! And then when that doesn't work, she continues to punch it, this time with fire. Yeah, because that's going to work. I mean, maybe it's ice. And while she's punching away relentlessly at this thing that is obviously not opening that way, these spirit snakes come down from the ceiling and they merge together and they grab her, and it's this really intense scene, and she's pulled up and strung up and she's still trying to punch at the ice because apparently she hasn't figured out that that doesn't work. She is about to get eaten by the spirit, and she goes into the avatar state and reaches down with utmost care and lightly touches the portal, and it opens, and the Aurora Borealis, or the Southern Lights, whatever, go blasting out of the cave and cover the sky, and everyone's amazed. Oh, good job, Korra, you did everything. Except you didn't do anything, you just kind of went into the avatar state and didn't learn anything or go through any real trial, except being almost eaten by a spirit snake. That's important. And she exits the forest, and everybody goes out to greet her, and Bolin gives her a big hug, much to Korra's cousin's dismay, and there's a funny little scene about that. Yeah, basically they say, you did so well, go Korra, you are awesome. There's a shot of Korra's dad as he's leaving, and he looks up, and he sees Aurora, and he goes, she did it, and he's really happy for her. Even though she's an asshole, still her dad, so, you know, parenting. And as they're walking back to the city, they see a bunch of northern ships about to take siege on the town, and Unalaq says, you're all fucked. He doesn't actually say that, but he basically does. And that's the end of the episode. The episode ends with Korra looking dejected or betrayed or resigned. All of those emotions could be applied to that facial expression. And we get a cliffhanger. So what did I think of the episode as a whole? Well, I think it's better than the first one, actually. Despite the obvious character flaws that Korra is exhibiting, and the bullshit moment with the spirit portal just kind of opening magically with no real explanation, the overall episode was quite interesting. I like that we learn a little bit about Korra's dad. He seems like a complete badass. He kicks ass with waterbending. He's super buff. He was a general. Yeah, that's awesome. We can actually kind of see where Korra gets her brash attitude. Because, you know, despite Korra getting mad at her father for dumb reasons, she's a lot like him. Like, they're very similar in terms of attitude and gruffness and, you know, all of that. I found the concept of the Everstorm really, really interesting, and I wish they had explored that a little bit more, except it just kind of ends when Korra opens the portal and suddenly everything's fine again. But whatever, that whole aspect was still pretty good. The funny moments in this episode are really, really funny. That's something that wasn't completely true about the last episode, and I really appreciate that. There were moments when I was just watching this with my friends and we were cracking up. That was really, really funny. Most especially any moment with Unalaq's daughter, Bolin's love interest. I can't remember her name. I'll get it eventually. Like, every scene with her is just hilarious. Like, the delivery that the actor gives is just spot on. The character of Unalaq himself is actually pretty complex, or maybe it's not as complex as we're giving him credit for. The thing is that we get all of this foreshadowing in the first episode that he's going to be a bad guy. And then at the beginning of the second episode, we see that he's not as much of a bad guy. He's just genuinely interested in keeping the South spiritually connected. And then we see the flashback of him and his older brother, and we see why he's so concerned about the South. So what was up with the ships at the end? Well, I think that he is a good person with good intentions and is going to be going about it all the wrong way. We know that the next episode is going to be called Civil War or Infighting or something along those lines, so I'm pretty sure that this is going to focus around Unalaq trying to take over the South and make them spiritually progressive by any means necessary, which is pretty interesting because it's not like he's a complete black and white villain that we've seen so far, although maybe he is. We don't know if he's just evil, if he's good with bad intentions, if he's bad with good intentions. It's all up in the air right now. We haven't seen enough of him and his actions yet to really know. The other aspect of this episode I thought was super interesting, and I've said this before on this video so far, Tenzin's oldest daughter has something going on with her and we don't know what it is. There's a really interesting moment where she busts open, she being Korra, she busts open the spirit portal and all the spirits pour out, and the northern lights, southern lights are happening. We cut to a scene with Tenzin's oldest daughter and she's woken up and she walks out to a statue and the statue's glowing at the same moment that Korra opens the portal. If you pause the video, we did this actually, if you pause the video and look really, really closely, it looks like the statue is surrounded by snakes. It looks like it's coiled by snakes, just a little bit. And that's really interesting. We don't know if maybe the spirit snakes that were attacking Korra are connected with this person, and maybe the snakes weren't trying to kill her, but were actually trying to help her, or something along those lines. We don't know. That's probably not true, but you know, it's kind of a little connection that we saw when we looked really closely, and I don't know if anybody else has pointed that out yet. So overall, this episode is better than the first one. The first episode was not horrible. This episode is better. I enjoyed it a lot more. Even though I don't like Korra very much, this episode was really, really fun. I'm excited to see where the series goes, because they've got so much setup now, and they have so many unexplained things that, you know, it's Avatar. They always explain everything, except Ko. They didn't bring back Ko in the first series. That is something I really hope that we get out of this series, actually, is a return of Ko, the face stealer. He's my favorite spirit in any sort of spirit sense, actually. I think he's pretty interesting. So that was Legend of Korra Book 2, Episode 2, The Southern Lights. Let me know what you think down below. Please subscribe if you are interested in these videos and want to see more. Also, I have a link down below where you can watch the video for free on Nickelodeon's website. Once again, thanks for watching and have a nice day.